Hi guys and welcome to another HOI4 video. In today's video I want to tell you that my mod, sejozwak, which some of you probably know about, I mean 800 people are subscribed to it anyway, has finally been updated after like a year and a half of not doing anything. Besides just fixing, I decided to add some new features to the sejozwak, although it won't be anything too special. Today I'm gonna show you all the things that I have fixed and updated in the mod so you can know what to expect. Just like the last time, I decided to start with everyone's favorite, formables. I fixed like 15 or so formables. Let's start with the Americas, with the good old constituting the Federal Republic formable. Belize for a long time was unable to create this formable because they forgot to make it visible for them, but then they finally fixed it. However, this formable has added another 2 decisions in the meantime, and they forgot to fix those. Included those decisions for Belize. As you can see, they can also incorporate Panama and incorporate the Republic of Yucatan. Speaking of this formable, I also made it available for Yucatan and for Panama. However, for these 2 countries, I made it slightly different. Let's say we're playing Panama. If you constitute the Federal Republic, you will not have the incorporate Panama decision. This works the same way for Yucatan. They don't have the incorporate Yucatan decision because they already have Yucatan. Since that decision gave the nation which forms this a claim on Chiapas, I decided to give Yucatan a starting claim on Chiapas as well. I updated another formable, and that was the Antilles. As silly as it sounds, Antilles were not possible to form as Dutch Antilles. You also couldn't form it as Trinidad and Tobago. However, I made it available. I also implemented in similar fashion, I implemented the Federal Republic thing. If you play as Trinidad and Tobago, the decision to reintegrate Trinidad and Tobago is missing, and if you play Netherlands Antilles, the decision to integrate Netherlands Antilles is also missing. But besides that, I also added one new decision. Integrate Bermuda. If you control Bermuda, you'll be able to core it. Some people wanted Bermuda, so I gave them Bermuda. In South America, I also fixed the Guyanas formable. This one wasn't really broken, but I decided to fix it anyway. If you would click on this decision, you automatically get to own these 3 states, which could cause some issues. Let's say there's another country here, like British Guiana. You just suddenly annex them, but you don't really annex them. You would see their divisions like walking like ghosts through neutral land and whatnot. Also, it's kind of dumb. Country just getting annexed like that is kind of dumb, so I decided to remove it. Now they only get cores. Speaking of British Guiana, they can now revive Bolivar's legacy, which they are supposed to actually do. In the game code, this is available for them as well as the Netherlands Antilles, but it's invisible. So yeah, now British Guiana and Netherlands Antilles can form this formable right here. So yeah, both of these countries can form 2 formables. These guys can form Guiana and Gran Colombia, while these guys can form Antilles and Gran Colombia. I tweaked one more formable in the South America, and that's Peru-Bolivia. Now you no longer have to own Bolivia, and vice versa, you just need to control it. Now some of you might say, well, this means that you could have Peru-Bolivia existing and let's say also Bolivia or also Peru existing at the same time. And I get your point, but at the same time, let's say Bolivia here joins the Allies and I'm playing as Peru, I conquer them. As a government in exile, what really are they going to do about it? So yeah, I removed the check which requires you to own the states. I mean, this was the only formable in the game which required you to own the states. All the other ones required you to control the states. I also removed this state from being required. You don't have to control this state in case something goes bad, in case Chile gets it or something and you're playing as Bolivia. Moving on to everyone's favorite continent, Africa. Not just kidding, Europe. Honestly, I did almost nothing because Europe is the least broken of all the continents. I allowed Herzegovina to create Austria-Hungary, which for some reason Paradox forgot, so yeah, I did that. Besides that, I tried to let Germany have option to core Jura Mountains, because they can core all of these states in Switzerland. I know there's mostly French people here, but Germans make a massive minority here. So I tried to put that in, but I couldn't because the way these new formables work, since Götterdammerung and onwards, it's really pain to do anything with them at all. It took me an hour or even 2 hours just to figure out how to let Curaçao and Trinidad form Antilles. For some reason, they are double coding everything. They're putting it in 2 files for no reason whatsoever, so yeah. I also fixed the Roman Empire. It was technically missing one requirement state. It's this state right here, Izmit. You need to control all of Mediterranean, and this state has a tiny little coastline on the, you know, Mediterranean, or well, Marmara, which is in the Mediterranean. Besides that, I also added missing cores in Iraq and whatnot. I also switched up some decisions. I decided to give them a core on Moldova, Dobruja and Bessarabia. And I also decided to give Regnum Bospori core on Balta Tiraspol as well as Sochi. This state right here, well, without it, this is not cored by either Roman Empire or by Regnum Bospori. It's just kind of disconnected right here. It makes no sense. It doesn't fulfill the entire coastline of Black Sea. And before you tell me, well, it's a mountain, you can't go across mountains, let me tell you something. You can go across mountains, and this is coast. You can follow the mountains along the coastline. Let's not be silly here. So I gave this score to Regnum Bospori. When it comes to Greece, I've reworked 2 formables. First one was Byzantium. When you turn off Battle for the Bosporus, if you remember that good old formable, you can see it right here, but it had a bunch of issues. For example, Istanbul would get renamed to Constantinople, but This state will actually get renamed to Constantinople, not this one. I fixed that. Also, they were missing this core right here, which the other Byzantium would get. And they were missing a core right here, and if I remember correctly, also Hatay. So I fixed those as well. The Battle for Bosporus Byzantium didn't require any fixing, but I did fix Macedonian Empire because it was broken. It was missing the core in Hatay as always. Plus on top of that, it was missing the cores in Iraq, in Iran, and in Afghanistan, and in Pakistan as well. So yeah, it was broken as hell. I decided to fix all those cores, and on top of that, I decided to give them some extra cores right here. I did one secret thing when it comes to Macedonia. If you can find it, please tell me in the comments, but trust me, it's very hilarious. There was one more change which I actually added to Europe. This decision, repudiate the Treaty of London. You couldn't do this decision as Belgium, no matter what. Now you can't do it if you have Götterdämmerung turned on, but if you have it turned off, you can do it. And I don't get the point of this change. Why did they remove it? For Götterdämmerung on, I get it. Just like they turned off Persia for, let's say, DLC on here. But for Götterdämmerung off, why did they just remove a massive feature that was like, you know, they're just forgetting about non-DLC players. If you don't have a DLC, go screw yourself. You can't have fun as Belgium anymore. Back in the day, you could, let's say, you could basically take out Luxembourg, Netherlands, get Dutch East Indies, form Benelux, and then they either fight Germany or the Allies. You could pick who you fight. Belgium was honestly one of, if not the most powerful minor nation in the game. I'm too lazy to actually close the game now and open it again with the DLC off, but trust me, if you play the game with the DLC off, you'll see the decision right here for Belgium. I also fixed the Persian Empire. Let me tell you, Paradox once again did a middle finger to all the people which don't have the newest DLC. I mean, first things first, even if you have the DLC, you can't form this formable, but if you don't have it, then you still can. And they added a bunch of new requirements, which you don't even core. For some reason, you need to have this state in Oman controlled if you want to form the Persian Empire, which can be extremely difficult to get. Basically, you need this province, you control it, then you form the Persian Empire, and you don't even core it. So I removed those requirements. As you can see right here, requirements are very clean. And when you form the Persian Empire now, these are your cores. I decided to put in Musandam as well, and I removed Gibraltar. I also removed it from Macedonian Empire, because Macedonian Empire is copy-paste of Persian Empire, and at least was, and they both for some reason called Gibraltar. I removed that. Now another thing I did, which you now won't be able to see, which because I already formed it, but Tajikistan can now also form Persian Empire. They're a Iranic country, honestly. I decided to let them do it as well. So yeah, if you play as Tajikistan, you can form both the Persian Empire and the United Turks, even though you're not Turkic. Speaking of United Turks decision, or basically Turkestan, I also allowed Altay to do it. I don't see why they can't do it. First things first, they are Turkic, but you could make that argument for some of these guys up here as well. However, unlike those guys up there, Altay also ends up being cored here, so I decided to let Altay do this as well. I also reworked Rattanakosin Empire. You still only need Laos and Cambodia, however when you form it, you get cores on those, and you also get a core on Ketung and Yangve. I also tweaked the Siberia a little bit. Now in order to integrate the Far East, you no longer need to control Chukchi Peninsula, which was once again potentially very annoying, so I removed that. And also to liberate the Manchus, you no longer need to control the state of Dalian, because in some alt history scenarios you might be at war with Manchukuo but not at war with Japan. So imagine having to go out of your way fighting against Japan, getting just this one state so you can core the rest of Manchuria. Like, let's be honest, even Manchuria doesn't own this state, yet they core all of Manchuria. I also fixed both of the Turkish formables. I fixed both Turan and Ottoman Empire. And both Ottoman Empires for when you have the DLC and when you don't have the DLC. And let me tell you, the DLC Ottoman Empire, Battle for Bosphorus 1, was one of the glitchiest formable nations ever. For example, Decision, which cores Eastern Arabia right here, gave many of these states double cores, like you would core them twice. Plus on top of that, you would randomly core the states in West Arabia and also randomly Cairo. And I don't know, it was just hilarious to me. So I fixed those decisions, gave them missing cores. I also fixed the Turan's cores. They were missing cores in Iran and Iraq, obviously. Besides that, I fixed the very weird requirements. For example, they had this one sub-requirement, which required them to control all the states in the Central Asia and also what they need to control in the Caucasus, except it only had the Central Asian ones in it. And the Caucasus ones were in the separate category, which required all the Kuban and Ukrainian and Russian states, except they were missing. It was only Sochi and Dagestan, which are the OG states. This was the old state of Grozny, if HOI4 veterans remember it, and this was the state of Caucasus Mountains, which was like this entire region. Oh, and one more thing, I enlarged the enlargement of Vilayet of Bosnia decision, so that now they also core Istria. Now moving on the continent which required the most effort from me. No idea why, but I just decided to do it. First things first, I decided to rework Mutapa. Now Mutapa also cores Malawi. Why did I do this? Well, let's just say that these borders looked a little bit weird, and with Malawi they look a little bit less weird. Since I also did that, I also allowed Malawi to recreate the Zimbabwean Empire. Since the East Africa formable can also core Malawi, I decided to let Malawi do that as well. So Malawi went from having no formables to having two formables, East Africa and also the Mutapa. Since we got South Africa, East Africa as well as North Africa, we might as well have West Africa. That's right, the new formable. You can now form West Africa as any of the countries in the West Africa. In order to form West Africa, you need to control all the coastal states in the region, after which you'll be able to form it. After this, there's a second decision called Integrate West Sahel. For that, you need to control all of these states, and then when you do that decision, you'll core all of those states as well as the Mauritanian Desert, Timbuktu, and Southern Sahara. I also fixed Djibouti not being able to form Horn of Africa. Besides that, I also enabled for Eritrea and Djibouti to form one new formable, and that's the Aksumite Empire. In order to form this empire, you need to control all of these states as well as Yemen, and then you can form it. You get cores on all of these states, and if you control all of your cores, and if you own the state of Tigray, then you'll be able to move the capital to Aksum. Why did I do this? Well, devs were already suggesting to each other in the game files to add this decision for Eritrea. I added it to Eritrea and decided, you know, why not add it to Djibouti as well? I want to give love to these unloved countries. For example, Djibouti got two formables even though it had zero. Same thing with Malawi. There's another two countries that I have fixed as well. First one was Arabia. It was missing some cores. For example, it was missing the core right here. Surprisingly not missing here though, even though this state was added after this one. Also, it required you to control Bahrain. I removed that. It required you to control Hatay. I removed that. Besides that, Arabia can now also core Mauritania, which I didn't understand why they couldn't, since Mauritania could form Arabia, but Arabia wouldn't core Mauritania. I don't get it. And yes, I know that Sudan can form Arabia, but Arabia doesn't core the south part of Sudan, but that's a whole different story. Arabs don't even live there. Anyway, the last formable is Al-Andalus. Just like before, you can restore Al-Andalus, nothing was changed here. Southern of Africa, now, just like Arabia, gives you cores on Mauritania. Now, thinking about it, I should have also allowed Mauritania to form Al-Andalus. I forgot about it. Mauritania would be country with three formables, Al-Andalus, Arabia, and also West Africa. Anyway, I fixed the Umayyad Caliphate because, of course, it was missing cores in Iraq and in Oman. You also needed to have Bahrain and Hatay and also Socotra to do it, so I removed those requirements. When it comes to Northern expansion, I gave them one extra core state, and that's the state of Malatya. And when it comes to Rashidi expansion, I also gave them some extra cores. Well, not extra cores, extra core, and it's this state right here, Bahawalpur. Besides that, I also fixed all the missing cores in Afghanistan and in Iran, and that's it for now, I think. So that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you like the changes that I made to my mod. If you want to help out with the mod in any way, shape or form by either telling me which bugs you have discovered which need to be fixed, or I don't know, coding knowledge, join my Discord server. The link is in the pinned comment probably, if I don't forget about it. And yeah, get ready for the 35k special maximum core population tier list video. And yeah, I'm leaving now. Bye.